session of Data Club. My name is Eric Olson. I'm a data science manager in the WDX org, part of Windows and Devices group within E&D. If you haven't been to Data Club before, just a reminder, these are our sessions where we share information about data science concepts, implementations, new tools you may want to evangelize, or where you're looking for others who may be working on similar types of problems so we can learn together. One of our rules about Data Club is basically share what you know, so talk about Data Club, and invite others who may be interested in similar types of work that you're doing. If somebody is not able to make it, we actually record all of our sessions and post all this information at aka.ms/dataclub. So you can find any of the slide decks or the recordings for the previous sessions for essentially the past 7 years there. After this session, I will do a follow-up to give you a link to those as well as that we posted on the site. We hold these basically on the first and third Thursdays of each month. And we have sessions, essentially we go out until into June. Our next session basically will be from our enterprise data team with MS Digital, which I believe actually just recently changed their name, followed by another session on the April 7th for Azure Cognitive Services for Languages, if you're looking forward to those. So anyway, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark to kick us off today. Mark?
Okay, well, thanks, Eric, and I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to be one of the two presenters today. Eric Conrad is a Microsoft partner, and he still hasn't connected, but I'm looking on my mobile phone here to make sure that he does get started. But we had planned that I would make some introductory comments, and he says right now, I'm literally seeing he's joining right now. But let me start here with some background and context. I am a cloud solution architect. I work in data and AI space, basically covering those types of technologies for the federal group. And see, he's coming in here, so let's get him connected. I guess Eric Olson, you can, if you can elevate him to presenter. So Eric, I know you're coming on right now, and I'm starting with some introductory comments before you get on.
Okay.
Okay, so just letting the audience. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Good to see you.
All right, good. So we have Eric joining us. He's a Microsoft partner, but telling the audience that I work as a cloud solution architect in the data and AI space. I've been with Microsoft for about 6 years, and I have had a career in AI and ML. And we, in our own group, we have used some computer vision technology for some image recognition. I've had talks with several clients over the years about the applicability for doing building inspection and those types of projects. So, and then also even a retail example with a live camera feed, you know, in that scenario. So I've seen it now from several aspects from different customers. But what background of our story is that during pandemic, by the way, in addition to being a cloud solution architect, I decided to take up ballet as an adult student. And, you know, just for fitness, really not any specific goal for that. But during the pandemic, I reached out to Eric and to try to see if I could get some lessons, you know, because I thought, you know, I had already purchased his courses and had learned a lot just by studying. He's got a lot of material available, including a 6-hour introductory course. It's pretty detailed, and I have gotten a lot out of just that. But then when we connected roughly a year ago, he informed me he wanted to talk about artificial intelligence. That sent us down a path that through some technology that Eric will describe. But the conversation really has gone into not just beyond basic ballet, but as Eric's going to show you, it's going to prove out to be a tool that can detect things that are very subtle in terms of body motion. And that is why we thought this is an important talk for this group, because subtle body motion, I think, will be one of the leading edge areas that my belief in it, you know, when we were getting into this, we did some initial research to see what was out there, literally the academic research, but also what kind of commercial products are out there. And I think the solution that Eric is going to show today, we don't know of anything similar to that. And also, I think the approach we think is unique, and then Eric can speak to the application for his story. So let me introduce who Eric is, and I'll tell you some things about him. And Eric, you can fill in more of your own biography. But Eric runs a company. It's Ballet Conrad. He works there with his wife, Svetlana. They're both ballet coaches. They produce materials. They work with adult fitness students like me, but they also work with pre-professionals and professional ballet people. So he's got an extensive network of other professionals that he's known over time. So Eric, I'll let you go ahead and get started with your talk.
Great, great. I'm excited to do this, actually. So can I start by just expressing gratitude for you, Mark, and for the Loeb team and for Microsoft for building Loeb, because it means a lot to me personally as an artist, as an educator, and as kind of an entrepreneur, really. Because without that app, I wouldn't have been able to discover any of the things I'm about to show you. And so I just want to express my gratitude for all of you, and Mark, of course, for mentoring me for this last year. Okay, so let's, I don't have much to add to my bio, I guess. I'd kind of get into the work, but I worked in Russia for many, many years, educated there in ballet, and pre-COVID, so the season before COVID, I was in New York City working with ABT. One of their stars, her name's Misty Copeland. You'll see some of our work here in a few minutes. So that's the most recent work with the profession, and then everything kind of closed. We all know that. And now we're getting started again. And so in that time, COVID, I just dove into this and just started playing with Loeb, and with Mark's help, I think we made some interesting things. So I hope you'll be interested in it. Okay, so let's do the screen sharing and get that handled, if that's okay. And let me know when you can see it and if everything looks okay. Does it look okay? Can you talk to me? I can't really hear.
Yeah,
Not yet.
sorry, I may have changed his permissions, Eric. Sorry about that.
Oh, well, I'll have to go. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like it
I'll
flashed
make it
up and
back
then
to
it dropped back
presenter. I'm
down.
sorry. I probably.
Okay. Should I? No, I can't hear anybody.
Yeah, I can't see your screen.
Okay. Should we try again? How about now? Can you see now my screen?
There we go.
Okay.
Looks
So we
good,
all
thanks.
have we have audio, we have visual. Okay. All right. So let me start. So I'm going to just kind of play and pause, and feel free, please, to ask any questions as we go, or comments, particularly from the machine learning side. If there's anything that maybe I'm misunderstanding, I'd love to know that. You know, I don't want to be wrong. I'm in it more than I have to be. So we can make this a little bit of a conversation if you like. That would be great. Okay, so I have two claims, and I'm doing this for fun. They're aspirational, but I'd like to just present them as claims for the purpose of this talk, and see how close I get to convincing you all that that they have some possibility. So the first is that I'm claiming that I can use these two models that we've created to predict the quality of a performance, a ballet performance. That's the main one. And there's a second claim that goes, what is pedagogically true for training professional dancers is also true for preventing injury and restoring the health of, let's say, adults like my wife. So my wife's the example, so I'll start with that. Okay, so here she is. This is probably a few years ago. This is the starting point. So I'll give you a bit of background. Here's the quick story. She suffered from pretty debilitating migraines from adolescence. And, you know, she immigrated here, and then we went to neurologists and did all the imaging and all that. So bottom line is, she has all three major back problems that a person can have. So there's this hyperlordosis, which is the extreme curvature of the lower back, kyphosis, which is like a bowing of the middle back, and then scoliosis, which is, you know, we all know what that is. So that's really the cause of the migraines, as it turned out. And so the medical profession really had, you know, they could help you relieve some of the pain through drugs and medication. That ended up having significant side effects. And this prompted me to think, well, maybe I can use my skill set in ballet to correct the source of the problem instead of just sort of treating the symptoms. So ballet, from as far as I can tell, has never been used as a physical therapy before. So this is a new use of this knowledge, and I'm going to show you. So here she started kind of like this, and here she is now. I don't know if we need to see that again, and this will become relevant as we go through the talk. You notice she's not wobbling back or forth or side to side. Okay, so here's how her back began. This is her standing in a ballet pose trying to do it. And this is her more or less now. So I'll continue. So you see the hyperlordosis, the kyphosis at the top, and then you can't see the scoliosis, but it's there. So this is just another type of ballet pose. So again, on the left is how she started. This is her now. Let me know if you want me to pause or you know, if you want to look at something again, I'll go back. It's fine. But okay, so here's our son. Now here's the interesting thing from the health perspective. So again, what is pedagogically true to train a professional dancer is also true for restoring health, or in this case, preventing future back problems in children. So they just grow into a straight back, right? So our son, as you see, he has his mom's back on the left. He's about 10 or 11 there. He's 12 in this picture here. So we're working on it. He's growing like a weed, and he's huge. So he's just never going to have migraines or back problems or many of the things that most of us suffer from back problems at some point in our life. And it's preventable if we begin, let's say, from adolescence or before. In adults, you can restore your health, but it just requires, you know, a lot more work. It's a little bit more intense. So I'll continue. Okay, this is Misty Copeland. She's the most famous dancer of the 21st century. She dances at American Ballet Theater in New York. I worked with her for an entire year, and that's why I'm showing her. So these three, so my wife and son and she are the ones that I've most intensely worked with over the last couple of years. So I'm just going to, so on the left, I don't know, I can use the pointer here. So you see she has this odd curvature of the sort of middle lower back, and then her hips tuck under. So we've got kind of an S going on here. And this is her in her ballet pose. Now this is her a few months later after I had begun working with her, and you see we made significant progress on her back. What does this mean for the profession? So as I said, I feel like I can predict the quality of a performance, and you're going to see that the AI detects the components that make up this solution. So you're just seeing a very simple back correction, but you'll see a lot more in a minute. So here we go. Powered by Loeb. Okay, so I'm going to show you two models, and these are the ones that I shared with the Loeb team, and we met a couple times, and I really appreciate their support on this. So this is probably the most interesting and less obvious. So this is the one that is very subtle. So you can either say it or just in your mind, tell me what happens to change the label. So I'm just going to play this out. And this is my son, his little face, because he's struggling so hard to do what he knows he needs to do here. And I'm talking to him. You just can't hear the audio. So let me pause each. So we have variable turnout, and I'll explain what turnout is. And so engagement is just the engagement of the muscles. And there's a bunch of them happening. So we have variable turnout is off, and we have full turnout. So we have full engagement and some variation of full engagement, and that's what you're seeing here. And at some point, he's going to reach full engagement, and it will stabilize. But he hasn't even moved his body, okay? So now he's doing it without holding on to a bar, and he's going to actually move and also achieve this. So he's playing with it right now, and I'm giving him directions right now. And so he's stable now, full turnout, and I'll explain turnout in a minute. And now he will begin to move. Now this is really key moment here, that he moved and the label did not change, and it will change because he will fatigue. So what you're seeing here is measuring fatigue using just these labels. So you see his left leg is fatiguing right now is what's actually happening, which causes the right one to fatigue. And so now he's getting tired, and it's going to start getting really, really wild here in a minute. Okay.
By the way, Eric, is this one where he can see the screen?
No, that's coming up.
Okay.
That's coming up. That's coming up. So the one you just saw, what we were measuring there is fatigue. So he started out with his full power, and as he did consecutive tendus, he fatigued, and that's what the label showed. Now this is different. So this is my wife, obviously, and she's going to do something similar, but she's going to switch legs. Now what you're going to see in this one is that when she's standing on one leg, on this left leg, her left leg, you're going to, the label's going to tell you, or tells me, and I'm going to tell you, so because I know what I'm looking at. The left leg straightens more, engages more, and has more stamina than the right one when she's standing on it. So watch the labels on this leg. It's going to be quite stable. So turn out, full engagement, full, very stable. Stable, stable, stable. A little wobble here in a minute, I think. Yeah, a little wobble. And then she keeps going. Yeah, she's struggling, her little face. Okay. And now she's going to switch legs. Now watch the labels change very dramatically because her right leg is not as capable as the left one. Okay. Now what's that's telling, I'll translate it for you. What that means is her right leg is softening and engaging and softening and engaging, and she can't quite hold it, you know, while she moves the left one. So yeah. Okay, so let me take this moment to define ballet for you. So you've just seen a few images, and you notice that their legs are turned out. So we call this turnout. And there's some math here, and I want to get into it a little bit if that's okay. So turnout is the fundamental principle with which all ballet movements come from. So that's the genesis of ballet is turnout. It's the counter rotation of the legs, but it's really taking place in the hips. So you see them say, you'll see their feet are pointed, you know, east and west, but all that is actually taking place in the hips, in the hip sockets and all the muscles there. So what you can see is the AI sees these fundamental components of ballet. So how can it predict the quality of a performance? And I'm going to show you this in a moment, okay? Turnout provides stability, and stability in the body. In other words, your orientation to space, the fact that you feel safe when jumping and dancing and moving, it's stability. And stability is the platform with which the whole art is built upon. So for example, if a dancer's on stage and they're feeling unstable, like they may fall or hurt themselves, obviously they cannot express their feelings in the same way as if they felt safe and stable. And so instability equals anxiety. And the last thing you want on stage as a performer is to feel anxiety, because the audience will feel it. So this is, I'm starting to build the case towards why the AI can predict the quality of a performance. Just these two models alone, and there's more models that I won't show you today, but these. So here's the second model. Now this one's more obvious. I think you'll see this visually. Okay, so this is a professional dancer, world-class dancer, and they do things a little bit differently. So I'm going to show you this, and then I'll compare it to how we do it. So you see there's a shifting. There's a shifting, right? And you see it's on and off, on and off. There's a shifting, okay? And then now you'll see Svetlana do it in two. So there's no shifting back or front, and there's no shifting side to side. Now she's doing more complex movements here than the other young woman is doing. Little bit of shift there, yes. Here you'll see there's no shift. So the label's really, really accurate. And I'll explain the relevance of all this in a moment. And I'm giving her instructions right now. I was trying to stay out of the way so she could crop this, but the label's there, so there I sit. Okay, and then my son's going to demonstrate some things. Okay, so so here's the interesting thing, and it's a little eerie, I'll be honest with you, in an exciting way, because it's like I know what the AI is seeing, but I don't know, right? So however I perceive this multivariate system, let's call it a system, the person's body, it's a system, really a physical system, and there's many things going on all at once. So I perceive something to be on axis, let's say, And so then I train the AI with that image. But there's many things going on, and I don't exactly know what the AI is cueing on, because with different people, and you'll see this in a minute, it seems to be noticing different things. So sometimes it'll be the hips, I feel like, maybe the shoulders, the rotation of the leg seems to be the consistent thing, which is good. What I know is that it sees very accurately, or perceives, or I don't know what language we would use on your end, but so what it is seeing, though, in this axis, and I'll let this play while I talk, the difference between the young lady, the ballerina who was leaning side to side, the difference is one axis to dance upon versus four. Now, when you see a dancer from the front, this TikTok kind of movement, it looks like two axes, but it's really four. And I'll tell you why. When the leg is sliding out, they're rocking their body forward to balance. And then when the leg closes, they're rocking back. So they're really dancing on four axes. And what you're seeing with Svetlana and Misha is they're on one axis. And in dance, it just runs straight down the middle of your body. And you'll see I'll make little corrections, and you'll see the label recognize those things. That's the other interesting thing, is we did train it to ignore me, and it does a pretty good job of doing that even with other people that we didn't train it on. So it's just remarkable. I just love this stuff, I have to be honest with you. I really love this stuff. It's like it gives you that dopamine kind of when you're playing a game. I just love it. I really enjoy this. So now she's doing a complex, this is a very complex movement. It might look fairly simple, but any kind of rotation wants to throw you off your axis. Okay, so right? And you see the label reacting to various things. And I think I was probably, training it here a little bit. So this is a presentation I sent to the Loeb team. So I'll keep talking. So the purpose of a single axis, in addition to stability, and I think we can all understand why that is, the ultimate goal of ballet training is to create symmetry of function, which then provides for the symmetry of aesthetic. So in classical dance, the conversation tends to be dominated by aesthetic, but for my side, I'm more interested in the pedagogical and the science side of it, and that is symmetry we're trying to create. So we have one axis about which both sides of the body have to leverage the other side. So the right hip plus leg is leveraging, in this case, the left leg is leveraging the right one. So the left glute and the right glute are working equally against each other in order to provide stability in the middle. That's what you're seeing right here. So yeah, it was interesting that it really ignored me. I trained the AI to do this, and it seems to work pretty well. And I can't really explain why it works. Maybe someone from your side can provide some insight there. I don't know. And you'll see how correct, and then it stabilizes the label, and we continue on like this. So we have this sort of inlaid screen here just to show that it's live, that we're actually in front of the AI live, just to, I don't know, spruce it up a bit. Now see, she's struggling to get on her leg, and I believe I will, spin around and put her on her leg. Okay. How are we doing so far? Any questions?
We're doing good. Well, we do have a question, and I'll read it as it says.
Okay.
This is someone saying, from being married to a ballet teacher for 20 years, this is fascinating. Does it align to a specific school of ballet, such as Cicchetti or Rad, or is it agnostic?
Great question. Agnostic. And I'll tell you why. Great question. So there's different schools, and they have long histories, right? So you have the Vaganova, and then you have the pre-Vaganova, which is Russian, and then you have Royal Ballet, you have a Paris Opera, you have Cicchetti. Okay, those are the main ones. You have also in other European traditions. So the fundamentals, which is kind of what we're focusing on, are universal. So there aren't different kinds of ballet technique. There are different kinds of styles of dancing or interpretations of how to use the technique. So the technique, a good way to look at technique is like a language, like a written language. So, you have the letters, the words, sentences. paragraphs, full ideas, same kind of thing. So you have this remarkable language that you can use in any way you wish. And so any country, any tradition, any idea can be applied here. So, but the technique is absolutely agnostic because it's math, if we're being honest. So, great question. One of the things that I've held in my mind for about 15 years is that I really feel like ballet technique is the math of the body. And one of the gifts of Loeb and Mark's help is that now I can demonstrate that fact, I think, to the ballet world, to my own, my own community, in addition to everybody else. But I felt like if I can teach math to see the fundamental concepts of classical ballet, then perhaps that, I don't know if I'd say that's proof, but at least I'm on the road to some kind of proof. That's, yeah, great question.
Okay, and we have another question. I know this is coming in your talk. It's a couple of comments here. So how does this react to unknown ballet dancers? They're wondering if it will recognize the training better, and they're also curious about classifying a variety of skin tones.
I'm going to cover all of that. Yeah, that's part of the presentation. Great question. Yeah, you're going to see everything. The part I just showed you is kind of the clunky part. It's going to get interesting real quick, I hope.
Okay.
Let me just highlight real quick. Go ahead.
And then I think this is
sorry,
tricky.
you go,
How large was the labeled training set?
Okay, so to get it to work, initially I trained it just on my wife, and then we added Misha later. So that was about 1,000 images to get it pretty robust. Now, because of I wanted to generalize, so that kind of connects to the question before. To generalize, so we're about, I think, 2,500 images at this point. So I don't know what, yeah. Can I just highlight a couple before because you're going to see the art now. Sure. I just want to highlight a couple challenges that are kind of unique to ballet, just for some context. So here's the interesting thing. If you're a musician, let's say you play the piano, you're the artist, and the instrument is separate from you. It's an inanimate object, and it can be tuned and refined without your involvement. With a classical dancer, they are the person and the instrument in one. And I know this gets on a little bit of a philosophical side of things. So pedagogy, right, is definitionally is the art and science of teaching. And today is mostly about the science, but I thought I'd highlight a little bit of the art side of it, which is the sort of psychological, philosophical part of it. So even whether you're a professional or just doing it recreationally, there's still an understanding that should exist that you are you and the instrument, the artist and the instrument together. And this creates unique challenges. And this is one reason why, let's say this becomes an app or a tool of some sort, would be really revolutionary in ballet. Okay, because ballet, let's say the modern ballet is probably about 300 years old, but if we go back to the origin, it's 500. And it really just hasn't changed much. In other words, it's been really kind of an elite, considered elite art. Now I define elite a little bit differently. I wouldn't define elite as that which you exclude people from. I would define elite as the quality of what you're providing everyone, right? So, but it's been an exclusive thing. I think we all know that. And this technology, in addition to this, and just the ability to do what we're doing now, or what we create as content, and we sell content, and that allows us to sort of just any human being on the planet that wants to study this or have access to it now can do that. And we have customers all over the world, everywhere. I think we're at 40 countries at this point in time, all continents that are inhabited, not Antarctica, obviously, but all. So anyway, I just want to add a little bit of context to that. One more thing, maybe what you kind of see here is ballet is a puzzle that's never solved. So with a dancer, it's a constant process of first establish fundamentals and then coaching through their whole career. So I'll stop talking and let you see something. Okay, so this is just some slow motion of what you just saw, so you can see that label's a little bit clearer. And then we're going to move on to the art in a minute. Okay, so this will answer the last question that was asked. And a lot of this is new, Mark. I don't think you've seen this. So this you've seen. So this is my son teaching himself, as you can see, based on the app. So I'm not involved at this point. He's making corrections on his own based on just what the algorithm, the labels are telling him. So this is something potentially a use case. So if this becomes, let's say, a consumer app or something, people could mirror it to their TV and use it independently to study, with probably tutorials and some other things involved. Again, doing complex movements, doing well. Okay, Svetlana also making adjustments on her own. She's going to do a pirouette, I think, here in a minute. Okay, so the art's coming next. So now that you've seen what the technology does in a pedagogical setting, we'll show you the art in a moment. Here's why this is so exciting to me and so valuable to anyone who studies ballet. It doesn't matter if it's child or professional and everyone in between. The skill that a teacher most needs, aside from having the knowledge of what ballet is and the steps and those things, you have to be able to see, and more specifically perceive in the moment and prioritize in the moment how to stabilize that physical system, the person's body. Because there are many variables there, and you have to know which one triggers the next one and the next one. And that's why I say it's a puzzle. It has to be solved virtually every day to some extent. So so if we're talking about vision, seeing, perception is the thing that's missing in ballet. It's something you can't learn from a book. So most ballet knowledge is in books, obviously. But this provides that missing link. This is really like the linchpin of teaching right here that you're saying, is if I can give people my perception in an app, this changes their life completely, and it changes the lives of everyone they touch in ballet. So I just wanted to say, I just can't say enough about how much I love this stuff. Okay, so let's predicting the quality of performance. So this is my number one. Okay, so let me set this up. This is Vladimir Vasiliev, and here's what you're going to. So he's world famous, most famous dancer, male dancer ever, probably amongst them anyway. This is the Soviet era. So you're going to see him do a variation, and you can watch the labels. But what's going to happen is it's him doing this variation, and then it's him doing the same variation at a different time and place. And so here's how I'm going to sort of attempt to prove my claim. We counted the number of offs, off axis versus on axis. We counted the number of offs. And you're going to see there's a difference between the number of offs where he's off axis or unstable between this performance and the next one you're going to see. So if I were to see this in a rehearsal and I were to put the AI in front of it, from one day to the next, I could tell you, okay, today he's going to have a better performance than another day, okay? And let me know if any of this is unclear, because I'm obviously biased because this is my thing. So let me know if you want clarification. Okay, so just watch these variations and you'll see how this goes. Sorry, we don't have the music. You'll also see it's really interesting that the labels, that it responds very well to even close-up, so panning and going away, so the distance doesn't change and it still sees really, really well. See close-up, far away, it's just great. It doesn't recognize stepping or running yet. I haven't trained it to deal with that, so it's just going to see the main movements. Okay, so 15 offs on this particular one. And it continues here. So he's dancing obviously in a theater now at the Bolshoi stage. So this is a very, very good performance. And this is in the 60s, I think, 1960s. And he's still going.
Someone's wondering, is this Romeo and Juliet?
This is Don Quixote.
And that the video is just a little bit jiggly, but we are seeing bursts of smooth motion, just letting you know.
Oh, no, I know the quality's awful. It's just, yeah, I know. That's, yeah. Okay, so now we're going to compare that to this, okay? Now this is a film they did, and they're dancing on cement, which is really suboptimal. So, and who knows what else was going on with them, but this is not nearly as good a performance, and the numbers show that. And again, obviously there are some discrepancies and distractions, and, you know, it's not perfectly accurate, but I can visually see the difference. Mark, I think you probably can too. So the other video had 15 offs. This has 41 offs. So it's a massive difference. And again, there's obviously a probably some substantial margin of error, but and then 14 here in this piece right here. So for a total of over 50. And it's interesting, this piece right here, because it showed him on even as it was panning away. So I found that to be somewhat interesting. But now it's probably not. It's seeing his hips, I would imagine. Okay, so this is actually his wife, Yekaterina Maximova. So she's going to do the same thing. She's going to do her variation on point. This will be the better performance by the counts. And then she's also dancing on cement in the other one, which is okay. Much better to hear the music, but like we said yesterday, we couldn't get that to.
Right. Let's take some, maybe have some questions while we're watching this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So someone's saying in this case, you were the expert, so you know what is good versus bad form. But going forward, in what ways do you envision AI will help you or be your partner, not replace your expertise? So I guess for you personally, I mean, how do you feel like AI is going to supplement the work you do?
Well, it's a question of scaling. So, so for me personally, that's a great question, actually. So for me personally, that's the question. For me personally, how will it be my partner? So in business, that's simple. It's a question of scaling. So giving my eyes, let's say, to a very, very broad international audience. But to be honest, if I can be a little bit bold, you know, here's the thoughts I have. And again, I'm not in your world, so maybe I sound a little naive, but, you know, I'd like to, if there's going to be ballet in the metaverse or in gaming, I would like to be the one to establish it there. And I don't know, is this a thread to that? I'm not quite sure. So, but if you're talking about my particular practice, I personally wouldn't have need for it in my own coaching, if that's the question. And I wonder if there's something also in that question, maybe I'm reading into it, or maybe not, but given that I have an expertise, how can, obviously this is a self-confirming process, right? So how does an audience member know that this label is actually true or not? And I do have an answer for that. I don't know if I should give that now or not. Do you know what I mean? Did I
Right.
answer the question well
I
enough?
think
Or?
that's good. No, I think that's good. And we'll see if that person wants to come back with a follow-up. But
Yeah.
separate person was asking about the green background and
Yeah.
was wondering how noisy background might impact the classification accuracy. Or do you have a viewpoint on that?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I can show you. I can. So, well, you know, I can't really know to the extent that how the distractions affect it. What I know is that by analyzing the result, I can see that the accuracy is, you know, quite good. To put a number, I would say in the 85%, you know. But what I have noticed is that it is consistent regardless of the particular type of noise. So I'm going to show you a different kind of location. So this is now this is very noisy right here, for example, this video here, very, very noisy, and it's quite accurate. And I can tell you, I think why it's accurate is because if you look at her core and her hips going up and down, they don't move. And that's why you see how she's very much on axis. I feel like different people in different videos, maybe there's some variation in what the AI is seeing, but I can't say for sure. But I do know what I'm looking at. And you see right here is a good example. You see her core, hips, and her back are not moving at all. And that's what's stabilizing that label. So very noisy background, furniture, and it's very, you know, it's kind of a recording of a recording. So there's that. So what I'm saying is there's this there's a consistent, okay, here's just another type of background. This is Mikhail Baryshnikov. Oh, let's go past that. Okay, so again, different kinds of backgrounds. I'm just showing you variations in like really low quality. It still sees pretty well. This is Mikhail Baryshnikov when he's 16 years old in school as a student. So I don't know, are there any, do you have anything to add here, Mark?
Yes, so that first person said you did answer the question about the scaling and they thought it was excellent. You took it to scaling business and the metaverse.
Okay.
Thought that was excellent. But we have a new question.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
great.
so this work is a wonderful analysis of the mechanics of a good performance. But moving forward with AI, what do you see the role of the emotional component of a performance?
So in terms of so how AI would be a factor or interact or be able to tell us something about it?
I'm wondering too.
I'll just
Go ahead.
I'll just pop on voice. It's easier than typing.
Great.
Oh, brilliant.
I can kind of see two ways to look at this. One is, are there, you could extend into other new edge techniques for AI to try to train it to understand what is a good emotional component of a performance as well as a good mechanical one. Or do we just sort of focus on the mechanics for training, because that's kind of the foundation for the craft, and then beyond that the emotional piece is just sort of the flavor each artist brings to it and therefore isn't appropriate for an AI solution.
Yeah, I'm going to say I would love to do that. Can I add one more element to what you're saying? You know what would be interesting is to also have AI analyze the music and the movement together and the feeling and the emotions. So maybe like three components. In other words, to I guess score in some way the quality of the performance. Is that what you mean? How to score the quality of a performance or to contribute to it, or what do you mean?
Yeah, because when I experience ballet as an audience member, there is that synthesis of, I have a lush piece of romantic music and I have synchronicity of the dance with that music, which is a huge element of the quality, and emotive expressions on the parts of the artist, and that brings the totality of the experience together to something really wonderful.
Agreed. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think it would just be brilliant to experiment with that for sure. Yeah. I mean, so at the moment, I'm in a spot where if we don't have stability, that's what I said earlier. If we don't have stability, we really can't get Well, look, so okay, so you're a ballet, so you see ballet. So what I would say to you is what you're seeing now, let's say, and this is true for Misty Copeland. This is what her husband asked me. So how much more can she improve? And at the moment, I said, well, about 80% more. There's so much more in these artists to be found, discovered, and so I believe in them more than they believe in themselves. And I think this is the way in which I would like to try to apply this technology to kind of inform them of their potential in some way. You know what I mean? Because what you're seeing now is some fraction of what they're really capable of. And so because we only know what we can compare things to, you might go to a ballet performance now and say, yeah, that was fulfilling in a variety of ways. But let's say I could snap and show you right after that their full potential. It's another world, and I feel like the artists are not even aware of their own full potential. And that's so I'm not sure if I'm going, it's on a tangent here, but if we can use technology to inform them of their own potential and then help them fulfill it, this is brilliant. And to add the layers of, like, yes, music and costuming, and try to find out what really makes an optimal performance for the audience, right? Because the whole purpose of performing arts is to elicit emotions from the audience. Does that answer your question? Is that okay?
Yeah, I thought that was great. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. Okay, so we'll just show you. So here's Misty Copeland, and I'm just giving her corrections while she's doing it. And it's just, you can see how the labels change and stabilize. So one thing you'll notice when a dancer's doing fouette, these are called fouette turns. When they're traveling in it, they're unstable, and so you'll see them travel and be unstable, and then you'll see her stay in one place. And oh, this one's in slow motion, so you can see. So you notice on the up, she's stable. On the down, a little unstable sometimes. And so this is just on my phone. I just filmed her in the studio a little bit. And here's us working before a performance of Swan Lake. And you'll see the correction. So I'm making a correction here, and you'll see the label recognize the correction. So I have tons of footage of this, of me just working with dancers. And so it's interesting that it ignores me, but not the correction. So it's great stuff. And so, we're just putting in the work here. So she's struggling, and you'll see the label can predict that she's going to bail in the turn a little bit. You see, so I don't have to talk fast through this because the labels change so rapidly. But so this is just some steps for you to watch. And here you'll see her do pretty good. And yeah, that was a good run. So she danced the best Swan Lake of her life a day after this. And it was brilliant at Wolf Trap in Virginia. This is in DC. And so now we're just going to take you through this answers a question from previously about, so she's pregnant. So I gave her classes before she was pregnant, and then she's pregnant. Like, can I film you being pregnant and doing this? So you'll see the access. So I just wanted to, experiment more and just see what we can do, And her name's Olga. And this is all Zoom. So I'm going to show you me teaching on Zoom and, how the AI responds to that. So again, the quality is not great. And this is in the studio, and this is live. It was live. So again, none of this is trained. None of these there's no images of these people in there. And this is recreational students, some adults, some teenagers, different levels, different everything that you can imagine. And I'm giving corrections, and so these go pretty quickly.
So another question that fits this section, someone says, I'm the furthest removed from even being knowledgeable in ballet, but there must be a big difference between being able to identify a quote problem and then diagnosing how to correct it. So the person's wondering, surely the coach still plays a massive role in correcting once identified. That's
so yes, absolutely. So so let's talk in terms of like a consumer level app. or even a higher level research level one for, let's say, the profession, we would absolutely need tutorials in there with it, right? So let's say this dancer right here, so she's off and she's on her own. So let's say the AI would, the label would change to off, and that would trigger a tutorial or something like that. But in terms of the profession, the human's never going away. You know, it's absolutely a human to human interaction. You know, that's optimal position to be in. But to use the technology, it would be a hybrid of these things, right? Does that answer the question adequately?
I think it does. And Eric, as we were talking through earlier, I often commented that you see how fast these labels change. It's rare that a
Yes.
coach will make comments that quickly, or that even the student can perceive it that quickly, because it's like a come and go. It happens so fast.
Right. So this is why there would have to be this hybrid situation. So I'll tell you how this actually works. So let's take this young lady. She's in the air right now. So before this, I spent probably a half hour preparing with the setup. I call it a setup. And so if you recall the engagement algorithm, that you didn't see any real movement from my son, let's say, he just engaged everything. That's what takes place prior to moving. So ballet has this, I don't know, I think it's a unique quality where, so normally I think when we move and then muscles engage to fulfill that movement, whatever it is, grabbing something, I don't know, like normal things that we do. In ballet, all the engagement has to precede the movement. So there's this intense engagement that takes place that the algorithm sees before you even make a movement. Okay, so the algorithm could inform you that you're not engaged enough, but still you'd have to understand in advance what that means. Is that what we're talking about? So the understanding would have to come from like a tutorial or obviously in person. So one of the ways this will be very valuable for teachers is to do it live with their students. So the teacher understands, let's say, and they're teaching. And to your point about labels changing, well, if you're standing still and you understand that you're using it, you know, you engage the muscles until the label stabilizes, and then you initiate the movement. Would be one way to do it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So more of the same. It's just different kinds of people. She's a teacher, and so I'm just giving her. So you see how okay, so this maybe answers your question. So you see how I just made a little adjustment and the label stabilized, and then then they can move from that point. Is it going or not going? And then she can make the move. So that's what I just said, yeah. And then so then we stay again until the label, yeah, stabilizes, and then they move. So that's kind of the order of things. So it'd be a really great tool for teachers. Okay, she's a professional dancer from Mexico. She flew in. And so now you see this interaction of partnering, and it mostly ignores me. And I obviously, I can't see the labels at this point. I'm just doing what I'm doing, but I'm not aware of it at all. I'm just teaching her because she had a performance coming up. So, So I give them little adjustments, and then you see that the label stabilizes. But again, of course, as you've mentioned, I'm coming from a place of knowledge already. And so there's just more dancing. Are there any other? Do you have anything to add, Mark?
There's some more things. One person says we need to figure out a way to put this into Teams so we can make that the preferred tool instead of Zoom. That's just a comment.
Yeah. Okay.
The second one here is wondering about the scaling, and you talked about it earlier, and you and I have talked about this, where motions would trigger a perhaps tutorial. The person's wondering if the human would be removed in a scaled scenario.
Removed.
Yeah, I think it means that, you wouldn't have necessarily a personal feedback, but, I think we've talked through this use case where perhaps somebody would be working on some type of motion and then have tutorials to
So I
guide
can
them
answer
through
this.
that.
I can, yeah. That's a very good question. Yeah. And I had a thought and then I lost the thought. So removing the human out of it. Here's the thing. So if we're talking in the context of an app, can we talk about it in that context?
Right, right.
So I already know in advance what the person's going to experience, right? I already know how their body's going to react to all of the training. So what I would do to minimize, let's say, human involvement, I don't know why the video is not really going, but I'll keep going with it. To minimize human involvement would mean I would whatever, with the app developer, pre-record and program in the responses or the preparation tutorial. So there'll be a preparation tutorial, then they would go in front of the AI, and then that could trigger further information on whatever level they would want it to be, right? So they would have to, let's say I'm an adult student or it's a child, so they would have to, there would have to be some options there of what they're doing, you know. But to minimize, that would be my work of just programming. I want to say something about this move.
I don't know if Eric just froze.
Yeah, everything seems to have frozen just then.
There's nothing like timing. He wants to make a comment on a video and then suddenly cannot.
Yeah, well, let's give it a chance here.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh.
Am I
Okay,
there?
we got you back. We got you back. You
Great,
might want to try,
great.
let's stop screen sharing, then start it again, and many times that will resolve it.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. Are we okay?
It's
Are
coming
we
up.
okay?
It's coming up.
But you can hear me is the thing.
We can hear you and we see you fine.
And can you see my screen? The screen share?
Not at the moment. It's still black, but not.
Should I close it
Right.
again? Or
Yeah, you can try it again.
should I close it again then?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try.
Just give it a second and then.
Yeah. How are we doing?
It's coming up.
Did I answer the question, by the way, sufficiently?
I think so.
I think I was talking about your class. So I know already what the student or dancer is going to be experiencing and feeling internally. So I would, let's say, prime the whole thing with that knowledge in advance. So in other words, the answers to their questions will already be there before they ask them. So I would present that information in a preparatory manner, and then knowing what their body's going to do, I would have tutorials there to support them, and that would minimize the human involvement. So the feedback, so if you work with me like you work with me, right, that feedback is going to be very similar for everyone. You see, because of the counter rotation and the mechanics of it and the mathematical nature of it, it's predictable what the person's going to experience. So you wouldn't need necessarily that much human interaction if the app was sophisticated enough, you know?
Right.
Are you seeing my screen or are we not?
It's not coming up, but maybe you can reset. Well, let me give a complimentary explanation. So Eric has a 6-hour training course. He's only trying to do certain objectives. It is not everything that Eric could possibly teach in ballet, but it is structured. And I see that I believe an app experience similarly could be structured. Now, does that teach everyone everything they would ever need to know about ballet? And I would say the answer is no. And especially if they're doing a choreography, which is choreographies generally are customized. And even if they're not quote unquote customized, they are often unique experiences. So, I mean, Eric, you probably could speak more to that. But that definitely humans, being involved in terms of final application would still be there. An app could maybe teach through a sequence of ideas, but it's not going to teach every possible motion, even though, the model would always catch something like axis, but it's not like a progressive training in every possible thing.
Well, here's the thing. Actually, this is okay. So maybe some will be aware. So the way, so ballets get made, let's say on a particular company, and then the idea that the sort of business model of it is that you export them all over to different companies. So different people are dancing, different companies. So what happens now is a human being has to take that ballet to a place on a plane and to a place and teach it to all the dancers, just the basics. And then either they or another person will come in and clean it and prepare it for performance. So the technology could potentially do that first step, just kind of block it out and get it in raw form, get all the movements there, give some feedback as to the fundamentals, and then the human being could come in and clean it. So you could save a tremendous amount of time and money, potentially, would be the, I think, the application there, which is the point, isn't it, of technology, is just to save time and money where you can for repetitive things, because a lot of it is repetitive. Like when I coached in the profession, it's really repetitive. Actually, it's, you know, tighten your hips, tighten your leg, put your core in. It's just repetitive. So the steps themselves come from the fundamentals, the quality of that move. So the quality of movement is really what ballet is. It's a quality of movement that you can't help have feelings about one way or the other when you see it. And so the technology could do a lot of that repetitive work, because that's really what it is. You know, the creating of the steps, that's something different, but I don't know what the technology is capable of, to be honest with you. I don't really know where the limit is. So I'd be happy to find out, though. I'd love to find out. So can you see the video, or are we kind of done with that?
I think it's not showing, and maybe you want to give it one more chance while I read another question.
Okay, sure.
And this one here is questions. Are you ever getting feedback from the model that you perhaps did not catch? Not meaning to disparage your experience, but just wondering,
Yes.
is there any insights you've gotten?
Yes, and I love when that happens. Okay, so you're all familiar with how the data looks, right? And how Loeb works. So yeah, no, it catches me. It does catch me sometimes because, you know, I'm human. You're gonna miss things, and it's moments. You know, I'm capturing moments of time, and so occasionally it will absolutely catch me, and then I'll change the label, which is awesome. Like that's the part where I get the little sort of gaming feeling of like, oh, it caught me. Great, great. It gives it now. See, now this would be really phenomenal for a teacher to have something like that, but in app form, to go, okay, you didn't quite see that. Take another look at this, and you go, oh, it's like you have the back of the book, like in school in the old days. You know, like you have the back of the book. That's what this really could be. Because for now, all teachers, all coaches, all choreographers, and they're all doing pretty much the same job, are just flying blind. Like they know what they know, but they don't really know what they don't know. And it would just ease a lot of minds and just streamline the whole process of creating dancers and choreography if there was this, I would say, like visual database of just all manner of ballet knowledge, right? So we can capture, like I showed you, just YouTube videos of the Soviet era. We can take any dancers from any era that there's images of, and so that would be kind of a dream of mine, is to create this visual database for people to access based on whatever they're looking for, because you just can't learn from a book. You can't learn classical dance from a book. You can't. And that's all we really have until I have this online institute. And I think we're the first ones to really do it at a high level. And this technology, I think, could be just brilliant in scaling that. And I don't know what's possible, and I'm excited by that. I want to know. I want to find out, you know. Let me try this sharing again and see if we can finish this.
Okay.
Can you see it?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, there wasn't that much more.
Okay.
Oh, what? Can you see it?
No.
Yeah, there wasn't that much more. There was another maybe 6 or 7 minutes. So, but the important stuff you saw, the really important stuff you saw.
Right. Now, Erica, I know we earlier talked about perhaps even having a spin-off meeting. It would not be Data Club, but the way I'd like to talk about it is a VIP tour, behind the scenes of people who might want to try it or turn on their camera and be scored or something like that, or get some feedback from you, and even have more of a detailed technical discussion. Obviously, we're just glossing over a lot of details here,
Sure.
but I'm going to make that comment to this group. And of course, we're recording this, so at future time, if you are interested in a more VIP experience, just let us know. Eric and I literally have spent many hours in back and forth conversations. And as we've gone into this, what I enjoy about Eric's is just his enthusiasm for technology, willingness to experiment. I compared him to Frank and Lillian Gilbreth, who are founders of the area that I got my doctorate in, industrial engineering, because here you have a family at home willing to run science experiments and just see where it goes. So right now, the product is in use, in process, and we're always looking for new ideas. We're obviously showing it to this audience to look for any technical feedback or pointers or ideas. Would love to have your feedback, and I will put Eric's email into the chat window if you just want to email him directly or let me know any of your feedback. Is there any more comments or by the way, Eric, do you have anything do you want to end?
Can I put something out into
Sure.
into the world, your world? So this is just an adventure for me of discovery, and so I'm absolutely open to talking to whoever wants to talk to me about this. I know Microsoft's into gaming now, right? You just acquired Activision. Yeah. So, basically, if there is a manner and a format and a forum that I can contribute to the development of AI, I would love to do that. So obviously there's, like Mark and I spoke about this some time ago, about there's kind of two levels to this. There's the consumer level and then the high-end research level. And I'm personally more interested in the research stuff, but monetizing things matters. So that might be that. But I just have one thought, and I don't know what it will mean to, or who it will mean it to, but I think in a gaming setting, perhaps, I don't know if it would be VR or what have you. I wonder if Ballet in that setting might serve as kind of a gateway to interest girls and women in tech a little bit more. I don't know. I know there are women here. If anyone would like to, I don't know. I kind of want to know what people want so that I can figure out how to create it for them.
Does anyone have any feedback on that? Encouraging women in technology?
I'm thinking about that one. I find that fascinating because I was a ballet kid. I took ballet up until
okay.
I was at 14. It became very apparent I was the wrong body type to ever go anywhere with it. And so it's
you want to talk about that a little bit? I mean,
I'm
yeah,
a curvy girl. I'm a curvy girl, and in a class.
My wife's a curvy girl.
In a class
Misty's
of stick insects, I fell back into, I'm also a geek and a nerd, and so I went and did science things. And it's a fascinating question because my impression is all the people who were in class with me would not have been interested, but there wasn't something that spoke to their passion. And for a lot of particularly early dancers, they're not going to be professionals. They know they're not going to be professionals, but they're doing it for love. And so this does offer an interesting opportunity to say, hey, here's a STEM thing that isn't, you have to go shoot someone. It isn't,
yes.
There's no aggression per se. And
yeah.
I find that very encouraging because I used to work in the games group, and this was something that we talked about a lot, is that there is a style of female gameplay which is cooperative, collaborative, and doesn't want to shoot anybody. And so this could potentially go to that space. More research would be needed.
Yeah,
but it's an intriguing
I would love
idea.
to be involved. Yeah.
What is some of the other women on the?
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm hogging it. What did some of the other women think?
Well, can I just say that the curves that don't make any, the curviness. See, here's the whole. I mean, again, this is that elite thing that I'm working on undoing and being successful at it. I would say that just doesn't play a part at all, particularly if you're. I mean, even for the profession, it's really a matter of training. Like you're trained or you're untrained. The details of you don't matter that much. Obviously, to be in the opera house, there are some attributes that have to take place for you to do it safely. It's really about your safety more so than some particular idealistic aesthetic. And this is the problem with ballet, and you know this if you trained up to a teenage, that the whole focus is on the aesthetic and none on the engineering, when in fact, the engineering or the training creates the aesthetic on its own. We don't even need to think about, you know, this curve of this or the size of that. You just do the training and let it happen. Like my wife, I mean, I showed you a little bit, some before and afters. She didn't diet. She does not diet. She doesn't do cardio, if I'm being honest. She just does ballet and eats normal, you know, sweets, some whatever, just lives her life. The training is quite unique because of the rotation. Because normally if you rotate and if you push your hips forward, your core is going to come out in normal life if you're parallel. But in ballet, we leverage ourselves in every which way, so it's isometric and it's quite intense. And so, yeah, if you ever want to jump in front of the AI, particularly in person, would be even better. You're welcome to do that. You have an open invite. Yeah, curves are wonderful. We don't worry about those things. We just worry about training. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My 60-year-old knees won't do it anymore.
So you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. No. Yeah, I'll push back all day on this because I have experience with it. You know, I'm working with he's a cardiologist at Stanford right now, and he's in his 60s. No problem. No problem, because I know you need. So the pain is a question of alignment and what I call it placement. But anyway, I'll leave you alone. I won't harass you about it. But I just feel like I believe in people more than they believe in themselves, and I would like that to not be. You know, the world tells us enough what we can't do, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you, like, we'll find a way. I'm a find a way kind of guy. We'll find a way if you want to do it. You know. Okay, I'll leave you alone. Sorry.
You got some great comments coming in here. Someone saying one of the most fascinating and engaging talks I have been to on any subject, never mind AI. Thank you, Eric. Your enthusiasm is infectious. That's one.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate
Second
you all.
one here, I agree. This has been one of the best talks since I've started attending. It's very informative and entertaining without being uber nerdy that us tech people tend to gravitate to. So.
Well, I love you tech people because I need you. Yeah, the world needs all of us. That's the idea, to collaborate, right? So you keep being nerdy geek. I need all of that. My kid's that way, so you know, great. You know, you can see we have Mandalorian back here. We have Warhammer. I don't know if anyone's into that. Look, he does these figures and paints. So yeah, we're a nerd family. I'm just a ballet nerd, but you know, you're you're in good company. Let's put it that way.
And
All
so,
right, great.
so the other thing too is we can also, in the follow-up mail that I send to the group, I can also, if you're okay, I can include your email too. If people had comments they weren't willing to share during the conversation or whatever, so they can reach out to you directly from there as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm happy to talk to everyone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and if there's any critical feedback, like I'm open to that too. Like I said, I don't want to be wrong a minute longer than I have to be, and you know, I don't, you know, other than Mark and a bit the Loeb team, I'm, you know, well, you know. So let me know where I get something wrong, or if I can clarify anything would be even better. So, you know, I'm open to all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are we ready to wrap up, Mark?
Okay, well, sounds like good. I think we can call that a wrap. And thank
Great.
you, Eric, so much. I'm going to give you a little applause things. You got little applauses coming up during the talk too. I think some great reaction, especially during the interactive, you know, when the person was in front of the screen. I mean, people thought that was amazing.
Yeah, great. No, I appreciate you all for taking the time to watch this. This is the first time doing this for me, so I'm glad I made it. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, we are looking to share this message either internally to Microsoft or externally. So if you have any ideas from your networks, where you think an appropriate venue would be, we are interested in sharing this message.
Oh, in the ballet community, so I could give you contacts. Yes. Is that what you mean? Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, ballet community,
yeah.
Or people who are working on AI, because this people who may see this even on the recording may have an idea of an audience that would love to hear this message.
Okay. How should I communicate that? Just to you, Mark, or to the group email if I'm...
Well, I mean, if you want to share that with Mark, then Mark, if you'll send it to me, I can include it in the follow-up mail to everybody on Data Club.
Right,
Uh,
Eric, if you had anything for me, just send it to me. That was more intended for the Microsoft attendees if they have any other
Sure.
ideas of venues. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, I thought you were talking to me. Okay, good. Yeah, no, great. Great, great, great. Yeah. Anything I can do to contribute to, AI, computer vision, I'd love to do it. I'd love
Okay,
to do it.
someone's already suggesting there is a group called Women in Data Science, and I'll follow up on that.
Oh, great.
They may want to see this.
Good
Okay.
stuff. Great, great.
Okay, great. So with that, then basically, I guess we'll call it a wrap for this time. And for everybody in the group, just look out for the follow-up mail. That once I get the information from Mark about the other information that Eric is going to share with him, then I will do the follow-up mail, and it'll give you info. I'll also share Eric's email that's in chat. So if people in the group, if they weren't able to attend when they see the recording, they can also send feedback as well. And I want to thank everybody for attending Data Club, and also thank Eric and Mark for reaching out and giving, like I said, it's a very unique talk compared to what we usually get. So I really appreciate you volunteering and actually offering to share it with us today. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Eric, as well. And Mark, well, I'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks.
Cool.
Thank you
thanks.
all.
Bye,
Have a
everybody.
great
Take
day.
care.
Have a great
Bye.
weekend. Bye.